Hello and happy Monday, you guys. We all know what happens on Mondays. On Mondays, all roads lead to book club. And I am so excited to be here with you all as we are reading The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weist. This book has been a jab, uppercut for us, but in a good way, so that we literally can master how to overcome self-sabotage. And so I want to congratulate each and every one of you who is on here right now who has not missed 1 week of The Mountain Is You. Let me know, and y'all know what to do. As y'all logging on, you know what to do. Let us know where you're logging in from, what city, what state, and or what country you might be logging in from. So most people ask me all the time, Juanita, why is book club so important to you? Well, book club is so important because you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? I am here on Mondays to fill your cup, which is why you really don't even need the book. If you get the book, that's fine, but you don't need the book because I love reading this to you. I have a gift, and the gift that I have is to help you get into the mind of the author, right? And you're able to better understand the book as we break it down and we digest it and break it down into little pieces. The second thing is that you will never earn more than you learn. So if you want your money to go up, we got to fill our minds with the things that are going to help us to elevate our thinking and to elevate our mind, to elevate the way we think, have emotional intelligence, which we literally just finished that chapter. Or are we in emotional intelligence? No, we just finished it. We're getting ready to start releasing the past. We just finished emotional intelligence. And then the third reason why book club is so important is because leaders are readers. And if we desire to lead in any capacity, then we must read so that we can elevate our mind and literally grow into wisdom. And so I don't know about you, but this book has been a banger. And I'm grateful because I knew that it was time that we all head into the arena of tackling emotional intelligence so that we can all move to the next level, the next dimension of our lives. And so we are also, that's right, please make sure you put in those hashtags in the comments. Book club, booktube, good reads, book talk, good booktube, and good reads. We want you to put in book talk, booktube, and good reads. Make sure that you all are hashtagging those in the comments for us because this will get us more views. You also have time to share this on your Facebook, share this on your Instagram and your stories. You can actually take the link, copy it, go to YouTube in your stories. You can go and do it and come right back and click link where your GIFs are. Click link, put in the YouTube link, and they'll be able to click it right from your stories because sharing is caring. And we want to definitely make sure that we are inviting other people on the journey of growth and development with us. And so there was a time that I didn't like reading. And that's another reason why book club is so important to me, because I am hoping to help someone who maybe doesn't really enjoy reading. My desire is to help you get into a place where you actually enjoy reading and enjoy reading with us. All right, so let's dive in. I am freshly back from Philadelphia. First thing this morning, I caught a 5:30 a.m. flight. I don't know what I was thinking about. Paige is actually upstairs asleep. Can you believe it? We took her to the pool. She came in and ate dinner. I made dinner for her really quickly, and she's rocked. So that just lets you know that we've been burning a candle from both ends all weekend long, but we would never, ever, ever miss a Monday. And, if we don't have to. So releasing the past. Everybody just say, uh-oh. Let it go. Let's type in, let it go in the chat. Let's type in, let it go. All right. Releasing the past. Throughout the course of our lives, we will routinely go through a process of self-reinvention. I've gone through that multiple times of my life. Self-reinvention. Over time, we are meant to change and we are designed to evolve. Now, I literally just said that out of my mouth. I had no clue because I'm not reading this ahead of you. We're reading this together in real time. Over time, we are meant to change and we are designed to evolve. So, when you meet somebody, or maybe you don't meet somebody, when you see somebody who maybe you haven't seen in a while, or just people that you know, and they'll say, "Boy, you sure have changed." Good. That's a compliment. We maybe they mean it in a condescending kind of way, but if you're not, this says over time, we are meant to change and we are designed to evolve. This book is clearly saying if we're still the same, something is wrong. Our bodies show us this as we eliminate and replace cells to the point that some argue we are essentially completely made new again every 7 years. Our mental and emotional growth follow a similar process, though it tends to occur much more often. It makes sense then that some of our most profound suffering comes from resistance to this natural process. Rut-row, rut-row. Hold on. We are literally in the second paragraph of this next chapter, and they already are just giving us a 3-piece and a biscuit. I mean, this says our mental and emotional growth follow a similar process, though it tends to occur much more often. It makes sense then that some of our most profound suffering comes from resistance to this natural process. So maybe what you feel or think you're going through really isn't what you think you're going through. Maybe it's you're resisting the growth of your mental and emotional growth. You're resisting mental and emotional growth, which could be why there's this profound suffering, or you feel like you're just suffering, struggling. Woe is me, because you're resisting the natural process. What is the process? Natural. Oh, we are in pain because though we must change our lives, we are holding on to baggage and debris from the past. Unpack your baggage. Unpack the suitcase, y'all. Don't leave it packed up for 2, 3, 4 weeks after your trips. Unpack. I'm getting mine done in my first 24 hours nowadays. It used to be me taking a week to get all unpacked. No. And I'm unpacking for me and Paige and the house most times. So it ain't just me. But we are in pain because though we must change our lives, we are holding on to baggage and debris from our past as we carry unresolved emotions. Oh my gosh, y'all. From day to day, we gradually move past our trauma into our future lives. But what happens in most cases, y'all, is that we're moving past the trauma, and there are some people that because they like the attention that they get in the trauma, they hold on to it like a blankie. And as the trauma is trying to be released from your life so that you can grow, when you like the way it feels to get that kind of attention, you would rather stay in that place than to move forward. As we carry unresolved emotions from day to day, we gradually move past trauma into our future lives. Or are you taking like 3 steps and then taking 6 steps back because you like how that feels? Releasing the past is a process and a practice, one that we have to learn. This is where we begin. How do we start letting go? You cannot free yourself to let go, no matter how much you know you want to. Right now, you are being called to release your old self, your prior afflictions, past relationships, and all of the guilt from the time that you spent denying yourself what you really wanted and needed out of life. Recovering from self sabotage always necessitates a process of letting go. Everybody type it in the chat one more time. Let it go. And all I hear is let it go, let it go. I don't have a voice. I can't sing it up there. Let it go, right? So there you, I was trying to come low because I don't have any voice today. But y'all know what I mean. Let it go. However, you cannot force something out of your brain space, no matter how much you don't want it to be there. You cannot simply loosen your grip, relax a little, and will yourself to stop thinking entirely about something around which your entire world used to orbit. This is not how it goes. You're not going to let go the moment someone tells you to move on. The day that you realize that you have to admit certain defeat, the heart-dropping second it occurs to you that hope is indeed futile. You do not let it go by simply willing yourself not to care anymore. This is something that people who have never been really, really hung up on something would assume. This is something that people who have never been deeply attached to something for a sense of safety and security and love and their future believe. So let's unpack that right there. So it's not that we can't let go, but the thing that we can't let go of was something that we used for a sense of safety and security and love. This thing made you feel loved. This person made you feel loved. You didn't feel loved all on your own. You didn't love yourself. So because you didn't love yourself, you didn't believe in yourself, this thing or this person becomes the safety and the love, and your future believes that. You know, I remember growing up, my dad is a pastor, and I remember my dad used to say, um, that is that you would rather be joyful and not happy, because happiness is contingent upon something happening to you. Joy is unspeakable. Joy is something that no man or woman could take from you. Joy. So I've got joy down in my heart, hey, down in my heart, right? I've got joy. No man can take that from me. I'm not waiting on something to happen to make me happy. Although there are things that could happen that make you happy, my life isn't contingent upon something or someone making me happy. So there's nothing wrong with you because you almost get angry when people tell you to just let it go so nonchalantly, as though they couldn't fathom the storms in your head and your heart. How can you become so passive about something that you have spent so much of your time in your life actively working to maintain and then restore? You've been actively working to maintain this sense of safety and security and love from a thing or a person. And so here you are now trying to figure out, how do you get past this? You can't and you don't. But you start to let go on the day you take one step toward building a new life. So basically what this is saying is you can't break a habit. No, that's a known fact. You cannot break a habit. But what we do is we replace bad habits with good ones. And as you continue the better habits, you stop doing so much of the bad habits. So if you used to, I remember I used to, well, no, I never really did that. That's really not. I used to eat really late at night. No, I did, because I worked long hours in the salon. And so by the time that I would finish eating, it was so late. Now, I would not sit and eat like some big old hefty plate, but I would eat late at night, which was why a lot of my weight, a lot of the weight that I picked up, that's why I picked up a lot of that weight, because I was eating late at night, like after 8 o'clock at night, after 9. Sometimes I wasn't getting into the house on a weeknight until about 10 o'clock at night. And I would still eat something before I went to bed. Now, I wasn't crazy eating no whole meal at 10 and 11 o'clock at night because I'd be sick, but I still should have just had soup or something like that when I got in. So how did I break that habit? I broke the habit by taking food to work with me. I began to be better prepared for long days in the salon, to not have an excuse as to, well, I mean, I didn't eat all day, so I gave myself permission to do something I knew I shouldn't have done. Does this make any sense? Hopefully that was a good example, right? So you start to let go on the day that you realize that you cannot continue to revolve around a missing gap in your life. Let me go back because I missed one. You start to let go on the day that you take one step toward. Everybody just type it in the chat. One step. One step. One step. See, let me tell you, Dawn, I'm going to talk to you. One of the reasons why it's so hard to let go is because you're thinking about the 100th step. And we're telling you just take one step. But if you keep thinking about the steps after the one step, you'll never take the one step. Just take the one step. And when you take the one step, then we get the courage to take the next step. And then like a baby gets courage to take the next step. And then the baby starts balancing and then they take the next step. No one's saying take all the steps at one time. This says you start to let go on the day you take one step toward building a new life. And then let yourself lie in bed and stare at the ceiling and cry for as many hours as you need after that one step. But we gotta take, Jason, the one step. The one step towards better health is I'm gonna do this one small thing until I can build up the courage or the confidence enough to do the next small thing. But what happens is, Paul, too many people try to go for the gusto all at one time and then they fail. And when you fail, you don't want to get back up again when literally it could have been something as small as, you know what? I'm going to walk 15 minutes a day. And I'm going to start off with 3 days a week. And then after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe what I can do after 2 or 3 weeks is maybe, Paul, maybe what I could do is I could either add a day or add 5 minutes. That's how you take one step towards a better life. Does this make sense? One step, right? You can start on the day, you can start to let go on the day that you realize that you cannot continue to revolve around a missing gap in your life. And going on as you were before will simply not be an option. Not an option. It's not an option for me to keep repeating the Groundhog Day. Anybody seen that movie where literally every day when Bill Murray woke up, it was the same day. The same way we all watched that movie and said, ain't no way I would do this over and over and over again. Do you know that so many of you that are listening to me right now, or maybe even coming back to watch the replay, are caught in a revolving door of your life? One step. One step. Just one step, because it's not an option. You start to let go at the moment that you realize that this is the impetus, this is the catalyst, this is that moment that the movies are made about and the books are written around and songs are inspired by. It's like that song, this is the moment I live for, right? Where we're literally living for that moment, that climatic moment when you say, enough is enough, right? And you're like, I can't go on like this, no longer tormenting myself. Tormenting myself. And you know what? I don't even know where this came from. Holy Ghost. This is the Holy Ghost. Someone that's watching us right now, you're tormented and your health is taking a beat down, and you're tormented because of somebody else's offense. That's what I hear, like somebody else's offense. Maybe it's to you, maybe it's to a spouse, maybe it's to a child, but you're holding on to the weight or the burden of someone else's offense. And you're wearing it in your health, you're wearing it in your weight. It's weighty. And it's weighing on your health because you feel responsible for someone else's actions. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. Because it's wearing on you. It's weighing on you. It's damaging your health. So you start to let go that moment that you realize that this is it. This is the moment that I say I'm drawing a line in this sand because enough is enough. I cannot go on because your very life depends on you making the decision to go on. Now, here's the thing. Doesn't mean every day is going to be perfect. See, we think when we say, I'm letting it go, that it means that you let it all go at that moment. We don't let it all go at that moment, but we do decide that the times that we're down, we don't stay down as long. We get back up easier, faster. It doesn't mean that once you make the decision that every day is going to be great, but every day is going to be greater than the day before. This is the moment you realize that you will never find peace standing in the ruins of what you used to be. Some of y'all feel responsible for other people. You have to realize that you will never find peace standing in that place of the ruins. You can only move on if you start building something new. There's a song that we play when we open up this book club, when we open up all of my StreamYards, all of my lives, all of my podcasts. And the song says, and it's so fitting because I fell in love with this song. I believe her name is Debbie Gibson or something like that. And the song simply says, I'm building something. You know, I'm building something. You know, I'm building something. You got to get stronger, got to keep pressing. So the moment that you realize that you will never find peace, and then you can only move on when you do what? When you start building something new. So we tear down the monument of the old, that statue that you're bowing down to this statue. And we say we're tearing down that monument and we're building something new. You let go when you build a new life, so immersive and engaging and exciting. And what happens is you slowly over time forget about the past. It just happens. I've had many bad breakups, many of them. A divorce, a marriage that went, oh. And guess what? When I decided I'm going to build a new life, not that it meant that I needed to go find new love. That's not what that meant. It meant I was building a new life. And every single day, as I began to learn more about myself, and every single day, I went to go learn more about myself again. And then I learned more about myself again. And every single day, I stopped thinking about the breakup. And I stopped thinking about what happened. And I stopped thinking about what could I have done different. And I stopped thinking about what was wrong with me. And I stopped thinking about all of those things. When we try to force ourselves to let go of something, we grip onto it tighter and harder and more passionately than ever before. It's like if someone tells you not to think of a white elephant, that's the only thing you'll be able to focus on. Our hearts work the same way as our minds in this regard. As long as we are telling ourselves that we must let go, the more deeply we feel attached. So all we're going to do, right, ladies and gentlemen, just say one step. I'm just going to take one step. Just one step. So don't tell yourself to let it go. Instead, tell yourself that you can cry for as long as you need to. That's right, you can. Cry if you need to. That you can fall to pieces and be a mess and then let your life collapse and crumble. Because you know that's not really what you want. Tell yourself that you can let your foundation fall through. Go ahead, tell yourself that. What you will realize is that you are still standing. And I want you to know, for every single one of you that are watching right now, for every single one of you that are coming back to watch the replay, that are back, rather, watching the replay, I'm proud of you because you're standing. And it takes some big old kahunas to still be standing, even when you feel like your entire world is falling apart. I've been there. I know what that feels like. I understand the pain of that. I understand the uncertainty of that. I understand the feeling of like, now I got to put it all back together again. But you know what was exciting? What was most exciting was building something new. It's exciting. You're still standing, ladies and gentlemen. You're still standing. What you build in the wake and the aftermath of loss will be so profound. It'll be so stunning that you will realize that maybe the loss was part of the plan. How many of you look back? It's funny, I think about that song. My father and I used to sing, as I look back over my life, right? I can see how your love has guided me. I promise y'all, I didn't plan most of the stuff that, like, this is literally a move of God right now. Even though I've done wrong, you never left me alone. I couldn't even talk when we got on here, but you forgave me and you kept on blessing, right? So here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you look back at the aftermath, right, Shammy, right, Miss Carol, right, Mama B? When you look back at the aftermath, when you're on the other side of it, you know that had it not happened that way, you would never have let go. You would have never let go had she not broken your heart. You would have never let go of that toxicity had he not cheated with your bestie. You would have never let go of that job. You were comfortable. And you kept saying, there's got to be, how many of you are feeling right now, there's got to be more to life than this? And maybe you're plagued by age because you think that age is a problem. But Aaliyah said it best. I think it was Aaliyah, right? Age ain't nothing but a number, right? How many of you feel like maybe you missed it? No, Colonel Sanders didn't even start KFC until he was 66 or 67. So you are right where you're supposed to be. And why did it have to hurt so bad, right? That's what Whitney Houston sang. Why does it hurt so bad? Why do I feel so sad? Right? Now I gotta get over you. Well, it hurt that bad because you wouldn't let go. And when we won't let go, what does God say? Oh, I gotta snatch this rug up from, because you about to kill yourself. Because you didn't see the sign. You avoided the signs because your heart was too entangled. So because you avoided the signs, your heart was entangled. Now, the way that he got to do it now is snatch it from you. Make it hurt so that you'll let it go. What you build in the wake and the aftermath of a loss will be so profound, so stunning, that you will realize that maybe the loss was a part of the plan. Maybe it awakened a part of you that would have remained dormant had you not been pushed the way that you were. If you are certain that you cannot let go of what is hurting you, then don't. But what you do is you take one step today. One step, put it in the chat. One step, put it in the chat. One step. And then you take another step tomorrow to rebuild a new life for yourself, piece by piece and day by day. Because sooner or later, you're going to go an hour and you're going to realize that you didn't even think about them or it. Then a day, and then a week, and then years, and swaths of your life drift by, and everything that you thought would break you becomes a distant memory, something you look back at and you smile. Because if whatever doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, right? Everything you lose becomes something you are profoundly grateful for. With time, you see that it was not the path. It was not the path. It was what was standing in your way. So the psychological trick to release old experiences. Just because an experience has ended doesn't mean it's over. We store unfinished and unresolved emotional experiences within our bodies. Cognitively, we often find that we are stunted by the time in our lives in which we were damaged or traumatized. We got scared. We never got over the fear. And as a result, we stopped growing. Often, what we don't realize is that the experiences that hurt us most aren't usually the ones that we are indifferent about. There is something within them that we deeply wanted or still desire. We weren't broken by a breakup. We were broken by wanting love that wasn't right for us. So you wasn't mad at the breakup. You wasn't mad because Boo Boo messed around on you. No, you were mad because you wanted the relationship. You didn't want to be alone. And so because you didn't want to be alone, and you know what's so crazy? See, here's the thing. You went to God and you asked for a man because you said, I don't want to be alone. And that's exactly what God gave you, a man. You didn't ask him for what you wanted in a man because you probably don't even know. Ruh-roh. Yikes. So we store unfinished and unresolved emotional experiences within our bodies. Cognitively, we often find that we are stunted by the time in our lives in which we were damaged or traumatized. We got scared. We never got over the fear, and as a result, we stopped growing. Often, what we don't realize is that the experiences that hurt us, right? We weren't messed up by the breakup. We were messed up or broken by wanting love that wasn't right for us. We weren't devastated by a loss. We were devastated because we wanted so badly for that person or the thing to remain in our lives. We mentally become trapped in these places from which we still crave and experience. You know, that's why we are not supposed to have sex before marriage. Let me tell you why. Number one, because here you are now, you got comparisons that you're going to make once you get married based on other people that you were with prior to marriage. That's number one. Number two, well, that's the biggest one. That's actually the biggest one because we're trapped in these old experiences where you might have been physically intimate with someone, and now there's a soul tie with that person who's not good for you. You're not thinking with the right brain. You know he's not good for you. You know she's not good for you. But because there's a soul tie, you crave the soul tie, not the person. You know the person's not good for you, but you just don't want to be alone. I mean, I just, I mean, at least I'm not alone, but you really are alone. Just because the person is quote unquote in your life, you're still alone. And so you crave an experience. What we don't realize is that we have to sort of free ourselves from it so that we can go forth and create it in real time. Instead of accepting the ways that we think life did not work out, we have to be able to see what was at the core of our desire and figure out a way to still give ourselves that experience now. What was at the core of our desire? What was at the core? Did you just not want to be alone? You just needed your itch scratched? Because we awoken those senses? We didn't value the treasure that we are, ladies, and we allowed a man to defile us in that way because of some other traumas that we had gone through growing up. Maybe Uncle Bobby touched you, cousin Booby touched you, and I'm not making light of that. Mommy's boyfriend touched you. The neighbors, your brothers and cousins, friends came over. And now they awaken these senses in you, ladies. And now here you are years later. You never dealt with that trauma. You never talked to anybody about it. And now those senses are awakening you, and you can't figure out how to make those senses go to sleep. So it's this perpetual thing that you just keep going through because you were violated as a little girl. You were violated when you weren't supposed to be touched. You were violated. And now these senses, these things are awakened in you. And you don't really want booby. You want that thing, that feeling coaxed. So if you truly want to let go of your past experience, you have to re-enter it through your memory, close your eyes, and find the feeling in your body that is uncomfortable. You gotta face that demon. If we don't face the demon and we don't talk to each other about it, find someone you can talk to. This demon keeps festering within you. This is your portal to its root. Follow the feeling and ask it to show you where it started. You'll remember a time, a place, or an experience. Sometimes the memory is fresh enough that you don't need to do this. And you can simply re-enter the memory by imagining that you are back where it all began. Now, I know y'all like Nina. We did not come on book club for this. What is this? Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that when I wrote all of this out, when I went back to my earliest recollection of trauma in my own life, and I went back to as far as I could remember, and I got me a black and white composition notebook, and I just started writing it out, babysitters and just stuff, writing it out. And when I finished, and as I began to write, more and more started coming back to my memory, more and more, because we've suppressed it, we've hidden it, because we hide it to preserve self-preservation, safety. So we suppress the thoughts, we hide them. But as you write, and I'm gonna tell you, and you start to release the weights that are binding you, when you release those trauma bonds and you release those weights that bind you, that is when you lose the physical weight. So when I did that, I put it in a notebook. I went back as far as I could remember. I finished it and I burned it. I went all the way up to the present tense, present date that I was at. I burned the book. I let it go when I burned the book, and the weight started falling off of me. Got to get rid of that trauma. If you truly want to let go of your past experience, you got to close your eyes and you got to find it, because it's the portal to its root. Find it. Find the trauma. Now what you have to do is to superimpose a narrative to your younger self. You need to imagine that you, your healed and happy older self, is imparting wisdom into your younger self. Imagine sitting next to your younger self as they got their heart broken, as Uncle Bobby touched them. And giving them very specific instructions about why this is absolutely for the best. And although they cannot know it yet, of course, that means in breakups. But no, reminding them and talking to them and telling them it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault that that happened to you. I'm sorry that that happened to you. But we're going to help you heal through this. This wasn't your fault. And you go back to that little girl. You go back to that little boy, because it is not just little girls. It happened to little boys too. It happened to little boys too, where little boys were forced. Be a man, be a man. You go back and you tell him, I'm sorry that this happened to you prematurely, before you could even understand these emotions. You need to imagine that your healed and your happy older self is now imparting some wisdom, giving very specific instructions. There's another relationship out there that's going to be far better. Imagine sitting next to your younger self when they felt really down and giving them the exact instructions regarding what they need to do to feel better, who they need to call, where they need to go, and what they need to begin doing, and what they need to stop doing. Most importantly, imagine telling your younger self that absolutely everything, yes, everything is going to be okay. That their fears are largely unfounded, that good things are coming, and that life will turn out well in the end. You have to do this to release the old attachment and allow that part of yourself to reattach to the present moment and what exists within it. Though you cannot change what happened in the past by shifting your perspective of it, you can change how you are right now. You can change the story and you can change your life. You can stop holding on to the old life in which you were required to be someone you inherently are not. The truth is that when we are unhealthy, attached to something in the past, our perspective of it is often distorted. We aren't seeing reality for what it was. And we need to assist ourselves in being able to broaden our mindset and open up to the truth. Instead of longing for what we didn't get then, we have to release ourselves from the past and start putting our energy into building that experience right now. I can't even believe that the time is just flying by like this. When we do this, we become free to step into the field of infinite potential. We become free to be who we always wanted to create, what we always wanted, and to have what we always wanted. The time is now, and the place is here. Ruminating over the past doesn't mean that you want to return to it. Not being able to forget what happened doesn't mean you're content to keep reliving it again and again, even though right now you very much are. You just haven't been taught how to, you hear the woodpecker, you just haven't been taught how to really go back there and release it. The wildest thing about life is how unassumingly it keeps moving. You lose the person closest to you, and the world affords you a few days of grieving, and then you're expected to just keep going. You go through something so life-shifting, mind-altering, and deeply traumatic, and then find that society only has a small bandwidth for tolerating your fear. Here's what you allow. You're allowed. You're okay to cry and you're forgiven for being sad or canceling a few plans here and there. You're permitted a few days off of work and someone to listen to you vent a handful of times. But processing and accepting the gravity of something that touched every last inch of you is not something you can do on a mental health day. It's not something the world affords you enough time for. And so you botch the job and you just carry on. One day you wake up and you discover that every identifiable measure you have moved on, that by every identifiable measure you have moved on. You're so many miles from where you started that you can't even remember it clearly. What you're underestimating is the fact that though you can leave a place or a person or a situation, you can't leave yourself. Why would it ever come to a surprise that you keep thinking about the past? You weren't given the opportunity to shine a light on that particular darkness and deem it okay. You weren't given much of anything at all. No one taught us how to go through trauma. Nobody taught us how to even forgive. No one taught us to have emotionally intelligent conversations about what we were feeling. Hell, we were told we were too young to have a feeling. When your mind is stuck in the past, it isn't because it wants to return there. It's because you were impacted far more deeply than you ever realized. And the aftershocks are still rippling through you. See, you think you're overweight right now just because you eat a lot. But why do you eat a lot? Because there is trauma that you have yet to deal with and or face or release. Trauma that needs to be identified. You got to bring it up to the surface so we can kill it at the root. You're still overweight because of the weights that are holding you down, not just what you're putting in your mouth. What you're putting in your mouth is a direct reflection of what is going on down under the surface, down deep down. So the aftershocks are still rippling through you. They surface as thoughts here and there, but under the surface is a deep echo that has the power to place you right back where you were as though you never left. You can leave the country, get remarried, build a whole new career, date 12 other people, find an entirely new friend group, feel happier and more fulfilled than ever, and still grieve for what your younger self went through. Even though you're different on the outside, that part of you still very much exists within. That younger self doesn't just want you to keep walking, it wants you to turn around and acknowledge it. You will with time. You are not wrong or broken for feeling the way that you do. You responded to your circumstances as any healthy person would have. If anyone else was in your shoes, they would have reacted the exact same way. They would feel the exact same way. You were a healthy person who went through something traumatic and you responded accordingly. You are someone who moved on because they had to, but who wasn't sick enough to disassociate entirely from the past. The fact that you can still recall what happened is a signal that you're healthier than you think, more willing to heal than you realize, and more forgiving than you ever imagined you could be. Everything that's haunted you is rising in your consciousness so you can see it and bow out with grace. You are not the person that you were, even if all those pieces are still very much a part of you. You are not broken for being in pain. You're seeing yourself out of it. And I think we're going to end right there because this was heavy. And I think it's a good place to end. We are still in chapter 5, and we will continue next week. We're going to learn how to recover from emotional trauma. We're going to let go of our unrealistic expectations. We're going to release our emotional backlog. We're going to stop medicating to feel calm and start meditation just to feel it. We're going to learn what it really means to heal our mind. All right? In this chapter, we're going to heal. We're going to begin. We're going to begin the healing so that we can move to building a new future. But if we do not heal, we cannot build a new future. But this was heavy. And I think we all agree that it was heavy. And I think we all agree that that's a good place to stop. We'll start with letting go of unrealistic expectations. We got to dig it up. We got to dig it up. And I kind of knew that we were going to end up in this vein, in this book. And I want you guys to know that we say, there was a song that people used to sing when we were younger. I'm climbing up the rough side of the mountain. I don't want anybody climbing up a rough side of a mountain. I want us to speak to the mountain, and we're going to tell the mountain to move. But give yourself permission to go back and to talk to that little girl or that little boy. And what would you say to them as your adult self now? What would you say to that little girl? What would you do to let her know or him know that everything is going to be okay? Go back to the emotional hurt. Go back to the breakups. Go back to it. Go back to the abandonment. Go back to it. Go back to when they called you names. Go back to the bullying. Go back to it. Go back to when you were freaking out and wilding out. Why were you doing that? Why? Go back to it. And let's dig up some stuff so that we can heal from it. And we'll move on together. All right. So I'm so glad we had this time together. It was heavy. I feel it. Like I feel your weight through the screen. I feel the weight of it. It was heavy, but it was heavy in such a good way so that we can move on and be healed and healthy from this place. And who would have ever thought that we would get healed and whole right through book club, right? So listen, let's make sure that we enjoy the rest of our evening. Have an amazing week as we pay it forward and we do a good deed and we're kind to one another. Be kind to someone, right? But do a good deed and really do something to pay it forward because it comes back to you. Let's make sure that we are sharing this and so that we can invite other people to come back. This is going to be a happy chapter, but we're going to get through it together, okay? So we're going to be all right as we get through this together. And we want to make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so that you never ever miss a time when we come live. You'll get a notification that we are live. We're here Mondays, every Mondays, and even normally on a holiday if it's not a huge holiday, because book clubbers are like, we're not taking off. We meeting you on a holiday. And so most holidays we are here, unless it's like a New Year's or a Christmas or something like that. We are here on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you to also go to my website, ninamorer.com. Go to my website and make sure that you subscribe there as well so that you can get your free gift. I am so glad we had this time together, and I pray that I will see you all next Monday. But I really pray even the more that you take some time and you go back and dig and talk to that little girl or that little boy, and let's do the exercises. Because guess what? If you do this, when you do this, this is going to unleash some things in your life in totality, and you're going to see yourself get better in every facet and every area of your lives. So you got to remember that God loves you. but I love you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Much love from the Wellness Queen. Good night and God bless you all.